Hello everyone, and welcome to another beer review. I've been trying to do this video for the last 20 minutes. Came in, got everything set up, ready to start, and then the local church decided to start firing up their bells for fucking the next 20 minutes. That's unbelievable, seriously. I thought, well, I'm not going to subject you to that, so I thought, right, I'll just wait. So I've been waiting for the bells to finally stop, which makes a change from car exhaust, but yeah, Jesus God, seriously. Right, today we're back on the Czech series, but the last beer we did was Gambrinus, and it was a light pale lager, and with an IBU of roughly about 24. So we're going to do the other end of the scale of, again, a pale lager. Again, it's from the same kind of brewing company, although it is brewed in a different brewery. Now, if I remember rightly, this beer is brewed in the region of Moravia, and it uses 3 hops that are kind of more native and grown in the Moravia region. But one of the things about this, if you know anything about Czech beers, or maybe if you don't, I'll let you know, that out of the kind of what we call Czech lagers, the Czech lagers are usually, this is the kind of one with the most bitterness. So Radegast usually has kind of, it's based on its hops. It doesn't use Saz, it's based on its hops, and it's usually a bit more hoppier and a bit more bitterness than all the other kind of lagers. Now this one has, which is a Radegast 12 that we're actually doing, brewed in Moravia. Oh, my glasses keep slipping down when I do this. I don't know why. Drives you up the wall. Right, anyway, so this one has an IBU of 30. So the last one we did was 24, which is less hoppy, a bit more sweeter. It's one of the sweeter ones. But strangely enough, if you look at Budweiser Budvar, it only has an IBU of 22. So it's 22. This is 30. The Gambrinus was 24. If you take it as a kind of a Czech Pilsner, should be roughly between 34 and 37, but on average around about 35, 36. But if you take Pilsner or Kel, it's up to about 40. So you can see how the kind of range works. And one of the ones that's actually lower down is actually Budweiser Budvar at 22, which is quite funny because they thought they would try and kind of improve their standing by taking on Pilsner or Kel by actually creating a beer that had an IBU of 33. So they brought that out and called it Budvar 33, which got, oh Jesus, the fucking things are off again. Seriously, what time is this? Fucking bells. Oh my God, seriously, somebody out there doesn't like me, and it's justified. That's Christ. Fucking bells. Seriously, I'm sitting here like quasi fucking Modo. Anyway, but yeah. But they brought out the Budvar 33, which was kind of okay received. It did okay, but nowhere near as what they were expecting, because people were kind of looking at it thinking, well, it's okay. It's better than the Budvar. It's okay. But why would I be paying the kind of similar money for a copy? And not a particularly good copy, but still a copy. Whereas I could pay this kind of same money and actually have the original, which is Pilsner or Kel. So it kind of fell flat in its arse. There you go. Which I'll expand more with the Budweiser Budvar, but that's one of the little kind of stories in relation to IBU. So but then on about the Saz hops, well, the kind of original doesn't really actually have much of an IBU, so the kind of the ratio coming with the bitterness of the Budweiser Budvar, it's actually quite low, to the point it's actually brought out a specific beer to actually have a higher IBU rating, and even then it just wasn't particularly well received. It was like do something for yourself instead of trying to copy everyone else. You know, it's like that type of scenario. So there you go. But this is a more hoppier version. This is kind of more the other end of the scale in relation to Czech lagers. We're not talking about Pilsner. This is not trying to be a Pilsner or that type of stuff. It is just basically a pale lager. And this cost £1.99, 500ml, and it's 5.1%. So it is. And because it's a 12, like I told you on the Plato scale, it's a 12. So it will have, it's supposed to should be more robust. So it should have a bit more of a body to it. And there's a little bit more about it because of it's had a higher basically fermentation media in the wort, basically. So it's got a higher ratio of fermentable material. So there we go. I'm just trying to think, is there any more information on there? It's not no, it's just looking what's it got. Trying to think. Says it has been pasteurized, so it's not unpasteurized. What was it got? The main hops is Sladdy, and you've got Jamel as well. Anything else? Not really seeing anything else, no. I'm just kind of read and see if there's anything else I'm going to miss. But yes, but this is still a very popular beer. So what we'll do is we'll get it cracked open. It's cold tonight, so this is a bit cold, a bit chilly. At least them bloody bells have stopped. Fucking unbelievable, seriously. Right, so let's get this poured. I can smell a completely different smell. I'm starting to get wafts of hops. So now for the people on the podcast, it's quite a lively kind of carbonation, as you can probably see, if not, hopefully. Smell wise, there is a smell. There's quite a distinct smell of malt and grain. There's getting a bit more hoppiness on there, a little bit more kind of cardboard smell, you know, with damp cardboard. So you are. And the head is different, as you can see. It's not as tight as it was, like say, in the Gambrinus. So it's but yeah, it does smell more hoppy, so it does. But as you can see, it's dissipating quite quickly, so it's quite a different beast from what we did earlier. But let's see what it tastes like. Yeah, it's a very different beast. There is more of a bitterness in the aftertaste. So it's obviously, I would say it's kind of sessionable, but I wouldn't say it's as sessionable as easy drinking as the last one. But as just to kind of put you on this, because maybe if you're not such a Czech beer drinker, if you look at it, on average, if you look at it, a German Pilsner, their IBUs are usually between kind of 28 to 32, averaging out around about kind of 29, 30. So again, their kind of IBU kind of rating is basically almost bang on what this is. But their Pilsners, this isn't. So you can see the big difference is that although the Germans do have a bit of bitterness to the Pilsners, they're not to the level of what you get from Czech Pilsners. But again, none of the beers in the Czech Republic would call themselves Pilsners because they basically leave that kind of monocle for Pilsner or Kettle. You see, so, but yeah. God, it is a different beast. So it is. But I like the bitterness, because I'm a bit of a more bitter person, you see. So my wife keeps telling me anyway, yeah, you're a bitter bugger, so yeah. But yes, it is, it has the bitterness, but what it doesn't have any kind of lingering. You expect it with the bitterness, you're going to have a bit of more of a lingering aftertaste. It doesn't, it's still kind of quite a clean finish, even though there's a lot more bitterness in the aftertaste. And there's some nice bitter tones in the mid-tongue as well. It just overall is a different beast. Mouthfeel, it's not as smooth as Gambrinus, but it's still got quite a nice mouthfeel, and it's still, as you can see, quite a lively beer and everything else. And overall, it's actually just quite nice, quite pleasant. So it is. But it just shows you, because people think Czech lager, and I think they all expect them to taste the same, and they don't. But yeah, this does taste probably a bit more mature, to be totally honest. There is more body to it, there is a bit more robustness to it. And with the hops and everything else, it really does give you a kind of a different beer. And even though it's the same company that's brewing both of these beers, but it's nice to see that they're not just churning out the same crap, or kind of brewing the same kind of base beer and then just kind of doctoring it in any kind of conditioning and things like that, which we get with a lot of kind of big conglomerate brewers. They always kind of make a base beer and then basically adulterate it to give it whatever kind of flavour profile to suit whatever brand or type of beer they're trying to kind of produce. But yeah, there is quite a different beer. But yeah, it's a different kind of kettle of fish from my point of view, because the last one is just an easy drinking beer. You can have with food, get wired in, enjoy and everything else. This one, I wouldn't want it with food because of the bitterness and everything else. I don't think that the bitterness will go so well with the food. What I would say would be, it's more enjoyable by itself, and just kind of enjoying the kind of different kind of flavour profiles. And also, because of it, I mean, there's a good malt level there to it, but there's also quite a good bit of body there as well. Again, for a lager, you wouldn't expect that, going by what we're used to from the likes of kind of more British and American style kind of lagers. But if you compare it to the Germans, I would say the Marzen kind of beers are kind of similar to this. They're kind of similar kind of body wise, not really the same in flavour, because this actually has kind of more kind of bitterness to it, and just have that little bit more of an edge to it than a Marzen would be. I would say a Marzen's actually more easy drinkable than this, which again, just the thing is though, they get the body. It's one of the things with the Czech beers is, with the lagers, they get the body and they get the malt right, they really do, but without losing the kind of lager attributes. I mean, if you're basically up at the malt and trying to bring body and everything else, you've got to watch, because it can slightly go slightly ale-ish on you and start giving you slightly kind of ale tones, and you start losing that crispness and that kind of lager kind of typical feel. A good example is your Czech mates. I mean, I just felt it was like a purely brewed ale rather than a lager, whereas there's no kind of mistaking this. It's a lager, very clear, but it has kind of slightly more unique kind of flavours and kind of feel to it. But yeah, overall, I could tan this as well. And remember, I am not really a lager drinker, and maybe people don't believe me or whatever, I don't know, but I do prefer ales. I like ales, and I like the body that ales give. I like the mouthfeel. I like that kind of lingering bitterness you get with ales, because I do like bitter. And yeah, there's just something about ale that I like, that punch of flavour that you get with ales, whether it's an amber ale or a brown ale or a bitter or a porter or a stout. I just like ales, and I think because I like that kind of style and that kind of flavour punch, that's one of the reasons why I like lagers. I can drink lagers, not a problem, but they're never going to be my first choice. If I've been, even when I was telling you about drinking Czech beer in Russia, if there was kind of ales available, then I'd probably go for an ale, to be totally honest. Unless it's a really hot day and things like that, then yes, I would probably go down the lager route just because it's a bit lighter. But even then, like I've said before, a good option to a lager is maybe a golden ale. And I would be totally honest, I'd probably rather have a golden ale than a lager, just because it's got a little bit more of a mouthfeel and flavour punch that you're just not quite getting with lagers. So this is probably more up my street, because as a lager it does have a lot more flavour and a bit more of a punch to it. But again, it's not like an ale, it's still like a lager. So but yeah, I don't mind lagers, but I am more of an ale person. And although I'd say that though, if it came down to there was a choice of kind of some of the crazy ales that you get from Brewdog and all these type of things, you need these wonderful concoctions, or like say a British mainstream piss water lager, then I'd probably go for a bottle of water or a cup of coffee or something like that, or a cup of tea, because that type of thing, because I would rather not drink any alcohol on that basis. But obviously with your kind of more crazy ales, then I would rather go for something like this than your kind of daft, stupid ales. But yeah, so let's kind of break down the kind of flavours. Starts off, you do get some nice malt, nice bit of grain, and a little bit of sweetness. Not too much sweetness, just a nice light sweetness. But again, like I say, it's amalgamated. You feel that there is a connection with the grain and the malt and that little bit of sweetness, and it does give you it just feels as if it's amalgamated, as if like it's really kind of been given time to kind of merge to a certain degree, but still be separate enough that you can identify the flavours by themselves. There is no real creamy caramel flavour with this one at all. No, this is a bit more sharper. It's a bit of a more sharper end kind of lager. So there's a bit more crispness to this, and not a kind of creamy caramel that you got with Gambrinus. So you move on to the kind of mid-tongue, and the malt kind of dies down a bit, so does the grain, and the sweetness dies down a bit, which is normal. But that's when you start getting that little bit of pepperiness coming through, and you're also starting getting what do you call it? The kind of bitterness coming through this kind of hoppy bitterness coming in, and it's coming in as little accents, but it's just nice. It's just a nice kind of balance, right? And that mid tongue is just nice, because you're sitting in the mid tongue and you feel like, I'm drinking a lager, but I'm drinking a lager for adults. You know, it's not a kind of watery, pissy kind of thing. It's just and it's not sweet or that. Just that kind of like a kind of more mature, grown up kind of like. That's just unbelievable. So I've had the bell, now we've got the vehicles back again. So normality has resumed. Jesus. But yeah, like I say, it feels more of a kind of grown-up lager. So it does. This has a bit more maturity, whereas you can see that the Gambrinus 10 original, which is a good starter and quite unique in its own kind of flavours and feel, is more of a session beer, and it's very sessionable. I mean, to put it, it's too easy to drink. 4.3%, it's too easy to drink. You can just really rattle them down your neck so easily, which is a danger in itself. Whereas this is 5.1%, but again, there's no chemical kind of feel to it in any way, because obviously you can get some beers. A good example, you get certain lagers like Grolsch and 1664 and all that, and of course they have more of a bitter, kind of slightly sour chemical kind of finish to them, and you know, it's just where this is, well, yeah, it's just nicer, and like I say, just more grown up. As you move on to the kind of aftertaste, you're getting a little bit of pepperiness in the aftertaste as well. Just a little kind of drag over. The malt's still there, the grain's still there, but the bitterness just kind of ramps up a little bit. But it ramps up quite quickly in the aftertaste. But again, it's not overpowering, it's not sickening, and it doesn't linger. And then they all just kind of slightly just dissipate at the one bit. So it's like very quick and clean finish. So you just get a little crescendo of flavours being at the very top, is that kind of bitterness really kind of ramping up. Just as you come into the aftertaste, and then it's gone. And just everything just dissipates and just finishes very cleanly. And I think that also kind of makes it kind of refreshing. So it's giving the flavours, but nothing's lingering to kind of, you could to kind of sicken you, or kind of just kind of hold on for too long. It's just like boom, and your palate just kind of clear very, very quickly in the mouth, and then boom, you're ready for another sip. And again, from that point of view, it makes it easier drinking than the flavours would probably kind of you would think would make it, because it has that kind of bitterness and a little bit more edge to it. You think, well, this is going to be a less kind of sessionable and a bit more difficult to drink, but it's not, just because of how the finish just dissipates so quickly and just clears your palate, that it does make it quite easy to go straight back in for another swig, which, as you can see, we've been doing quite a lot of. So what would I give this out of 10? Well, it is a different beer. It has a bit more of a bitterness to it. So it does. It has a bit more of a bitterness to it, and which of course I like. But I prefer the lager side of it than the Pilsner side of it. And it's always been like that. A good well-brewed lager to me is better than a Pilsner to a certain degree. Yeah, what would I give this out of 10? Well, for me, this is more suitable than the Gambrinus 10, but I liked the Gambrinus 10 and I gave it 6.5. But this, I would give this a bit more, just because it's just got that little bit more robustness to it, which is a 12. It'll be interesting to see what the Gambrinus 12 is going to be like, and we will obviously, I've got extra cans of these, and we will basically compare the 12s and we'll compare the 10s and things like that, and have them as two separate groups just to kind of look at them more closely. But yeah, out of 10, I'm going to give this a 7. I'm kind of toying between 7 and 7.5. But yeah, I'm going to give this a 7. From a lager scale and everything else, I'm going to give this a 7. It's nice. It's an easy 7. I'll be totally honest. Don't think it's a case it's struggling. It's an easy 7. But it is, you could quite easily give it in between 7 and 7.5, in my view. And it's a good one again because it's the opposite end of the scale. So we did one that's kind of the more sweeter style, and we've done one now that's a lot more kind of bitterness to it, a lot more hoppy. So again, these are two good ones to kind of start with, and easy enough to get. Yeah, this is more expensive, but it's also got higher alcohol content. This is 5.1 and it's £1.99, whereas the Gambrinus 10 is 4.3%, and that was only £1.59. So again, you know, they're not too far away from each other, but yeah, this just seems to be a bit more about it. On a kind of more kind of slightly kind of more kind of grown up kind of scale. But yeah, I would definitely recommend both, and both are a good kind of a good starter. So you can try one end of the scale and you can try another end of the scale and see where you're at with that. And then of course you can start picking up ones in the kind of middle, which of course we will do as well. And I will highlight that these are the more kind of middle lagers and things like that. So hopefully that might help you with a bit more of your understanding of Czech beers. And we've got plenty more to come. So thanks for watching. Cheers and bye for now. My mouth all left in it.